When we think of Hollywood's golden era, visions of classic cinema and timeless movies instantly come to mind. It was a time when the magic of film captivated the world and stars weren't just famous. They were legends. Beyond the glitz and glamour, many of these vintage icons built fortunes that would be staggering even today. From bold investments to groundbreaking contracts, these actors turned Hollywood dreams into serious wealth. Today, we're peeling back the curtain to reveal the richest stars who ruled the world of classic film during cinema's most unforgettable golden age. In the dazzling world of classic Hollywood, few embodied the golden era's extravagance quite like Gloria Swanson. A true icon of vintage cinema, Swanson wasn't just a star of silent film, she was a business powerhouse. Known for her unforgettable performance in Sunset Boulevard, she became a symbol of ambition and opulence. While many admired her on screen, fewer realized that Swanson was quietly building a financial empire behind the scenes. She didn't just rely on movies for her wealth, she invested smartly in real estate and even owned valuable oil fields. In an era when most actresses were at the mercy of studio contracts, Swanson launched her own production company, giving her rare creative control. Her savvy investments and bold career moves turned her into one of old Hollywood's richest figures. Even as the golden lights of early cinema faded, Gloria Swanson's fortune and legacy endured. Her story reminds us that behind the glamour of vintage Hollywood, real empires were being built, and Swanson was one of the best at it. Katharine Hepburn was Hollywood's original rebel, redefining what it meant to be a woman in the golden era of cinema. While others played by the rules, Hepburn set her own, armed with a confidence that came from both talent and wealth. Raised in one of New England's elite families, Hepburn stepped into the world of classic movies already financially secure, something almost unheard of among her peers. This privilege allowed her to make daring choices in her film career, challenging the rigid standards of vintage Hollywood. She famously bought the rights to The Philadelphia Story, using it to stage one of the greatest comebacks in cinema history. Hepburn's life was a masterclass in using power wisely. She blended the elegance of vintage cinema with fierce independence. Owning her beautiful Connecticut estate, she maintained a life far removed from the frantic desperation many stars faced. In a time when the Hollywood system controlled everything, Hepburn proved that true freedom and fortune was about playing your own game in a world of classic illusions. In the golden age of Hollywood, few stars shined brighter or bolder than Mae West. Known for her sharp wit and sultry style, West was a true force in vintage cinema. But behind the laughter and innuendo, she was crafting a financial empire most actors could only dream of. During the height of her film career in the 1930s, she became one of the highest-paid individuals in the United States, commanding staggering fees at a time when the Great Depression had crippled the economy. West wasn't just acting in movies, she was writing them, controlling her image and her earnings with shrewd precision. While others lost fortunes trying to maintain a glamorous facade, West invested smartly in real estate, ensuring her wealth grew steadily. Her story reveals that beneath the glittering surface of classic Hollywood cinema, real business acumen thrived. Mae West's success wasn't an accident, it was a masterful performance both on and off the silver screen, cementing her as one of the wealthiest and most brilliant minds of Hollywood's golden era. Grace Kelly's rise from Philadelphia debutante to reigning monarch of Monaco feels like something scripted for classic Hollywood, yet every dazzling scene was true. Before trading studio lots for palace corridors, she lit up vintage cinema with unforgettable turns in Rear Window, Dial M for Murder, and High Society, earning salaries that placed her among the golden era's top-paid stars. Still, the greatest twist came not on film, but at the altar. Her 1956 marriage to Prince Rainier III delivered a $2 million dowry, around $20 million today, and entree to a principality flush with casino revenue, tax haven banking, and enviable Mediterranean real estate. Though she retired from movies at 26, Kelly's allure only intensified. Luxury houses named bags after her, fashion magazines chased her every appearance, and Monaco's tourism boomed on the promise of catching a glimpse of the world's most glamorous princess. She directed charitable ventures, championed the arts, and quietly managed personal investments that swelled her fortune to roughly $120 million in modern dollars. Grace Kelly's legacy proves that the right role can outshine the silver screen, and sometimes the credits never truly roll. Cary Grant wasn't just the charming face of classic Hollywood cinema, he was a mastermind behind the scenes. At a time when most actors were trapped in binding studio contracts, Grant changed the game. He became one of the first major film stars to work independently, choosing his own projects and negotiating his own deals. This bold approach made him one of the richest and most admired figures of the golden era. With hits like North by Northwest and The Philadelphia Story, Grant remained a box office sensation. Yet his real genius was financial. He invested heavily in real estate stocks and even negotiated profit-sharing deals, a rare move in vintage Hollywood. Unlike many who lived lavishly and lost it all, Grant lived modestly and saved strategically. His life behind the camera was every bit as carefully directed as his performances on screen. Cary Grant proved that in the glittering world of movies and classic cinema, the smartest stars weren't just acting. They were building lasting legacies that still inspire today. Greta Garbo was the sphinx of classic Hollywood, gliding through the golden era with an air of mystery that made every appearance feel almost forbidden. In the 1920s and 30s, she commanded salaries that dwarfed most leading men, turning silent movies and early sound films into worldwide events. Yet the real intrigue lies in how she treated cinema like a stepping stone to far greater riches. While studios locked peers into restrictive contracts, Garbo negotiated short deals, walked away at her peak, and poured her earnings into New York real estate, blue-chip stocks, and art that only rose in value. Off-screen, she became almost invisible. No lavish parties, no costly entourage, just a fiercely private life that shielded her fortune from Hollywood excess. Friends recalled she balanced checks as meticulously as she rehearsed lines, proving the enigmatic goddess of vintage film was also a ruthless strategist. When Garbo died in 1990, the discovery of an investment portfolio worth roughly $55 million shocked anyone who thought her power ended when the projector stopped spinning. Bing Crosby's Velvet Baritone defined the soundtrack of Hollywood's golden era, but his bank balance told an even richer story. Long before White Christmas became the best-selling single in recorded history, Crosby understood that movies, radio, and the newborn medium of television were just different doors to the same vault. He took points on films, pioneered pre-recorded radio shows that slashed costs and boosted syndication fees, and then leapt into TV specials that became vintage holiday staples. Behind the crooner's easy grin was a shark-smart investor. Cattle ranches, oil leases, citrus groves, a piece of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and prime California real estate fattened his empire. Even the revolutionary videotape recorder sprang from a company he bankrolled. Friends joked Bing could monetize a Christmas card, and they weren't far off. By his 1977 death, the singer-actor's estate hit $50 million, roughly $200 million now, much of it locked in trusts that matured only when his children turned 65. In the annals of classic cinema and music, Crosby wasn't just seasonal cheer, he was evergreen prophet. Gloria Vanderbilt was born into vintage Gilded Age splendor, but she refused to remain a footnote in someone else's railroad fortune. Instead, she hijacked the glamour of Hollywood and the buzz of New York fashion to craft a personal brand decades before influencers existed. Though she flirted with acting and appeared in classic live television dramas, her true blockbuster came in denim. Tight, dark, signature-stitched jeans that turned department stores into feeding frenzies. With each pair, she alchemized the old Vanderbilt mystique into modern pop culture gold, licensing her name across perfume, linens, and even film tie-ins that exploited Hollywood's endless appetite for stylish crossover. Real estate flips, from a Fifth Avenue townhouse to a Riverside co-op, became chapters in a quietly growing portfolio. By the time she penned best-selling memoirs that spilled secrets of the golden era's social scene, the girl once dubbed Poor Little Rich Girl owned an empire worth about $200 million. In classic cinema terms, Vanderbilt directed her own narrative, a plot twist where heiress transforms into mogul and steals the final scene. Bob Hope mastered a rare feat in Hollywood, staying perpetually relevant while getting spectacularly rich. He surfed every wave the golden era threw his way: vaudeville, radio, movies, classic road comedies with Bing Crosby, and finally primetime television, each medium expanding both his audience and his wallet. Yet Hope's greatest punchline was offstage, where he quietly amassed one of the most lucrative real estate portfolios in California history. He bought entire tracts of the San Fernando Valley when they were just dusty ranches, snagged vintage Palm Springs acreage later worth tens of millions, and negotiated ownership stakes instead of straight salaries for certain films. His USO tours, though famously patriotic, doubled as brand-building extravaganzas that kept him marquee hot for 6 decades. Sponsors like Pepsodent locked into long contracts, trusting the grin that never missed a laugh. When he passed at 100 in 2003, auditors tallied a fortune near $150 million, about $235 million now, proving the king of one-liners also knew a thing or two about compound interest. In the grand cinema of wealth, Bob Hope left them laughing and learning. As the curtain falls on our journey through Hollywood's golden era, these legends prove classic cinema was more than dazzling movies. It was a masterclass in fortune building. Their vintage wisdom still echoes on every film set today, reminding us that behind the glamour lies strategy, grit, and gold. Which story surprised you most? Let us know in the comments below.